Hey, welcome back to Bad Relationship Advice with Damian and Monika. How's it going, Monika?
It's good. How are you doing, Damian?
I'm doing all right. I have a little story to share with you, and I'm interested to hear if you can help me find some perspective on this.
The pressure's on.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm sitting with friends, and we're joking around. We're drinking. People, you know how when you're drinking, sometimes people get one person gets a little louder, then the next person gets louder, then sometimes people are talking at the same time, and it's just kind of,
Everyone
like
gets all
that.
hyped up.
Yeah, not everyone's waiting their turn to talk and that kind of stuff. So we're kind of talking about something. I don't even remember what it was. It was dating somebody way older than you, like 20 years older than you. And one of the friends, we're everyone's trying to get their word in, but it's a friendly group of people. Nobody's like got problems with one another. But then the one friend can't seem to get out everything that they wanted to say, and they just kind of broke down crying. And everyone just kind of stopped, and it was like, what's wrong? And from what I can remember, it was like, I just have to accept that not everything I say is interesting, and just quit trying to get my point of view out if nobody wants to hear it, or something like that. It was the overall impression I got was that the person didn't feel like that they didn't feel like anyone wanted to hear what they had to say, because people were constantly chiming in and interrupting and stuff, and it just kind of inspired a little bit of a meltdown. And so one friend starts apologizing profusely and saying, oh, I shouldn't have interrupted you. I need to really work on that, blah, blah, blah. And I was just kind of stunned, because it was such a U-turn from this, positive, chatty group. Suddenly someone's crying. And I was like, so what do you think about that?
Did you cry, Damian?
Did I cry?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't sad. I was just kind of confused. And
well, what was this person trying to talk about? Like, what was so important that it made him cry when they weren't able to express that? Were you even listening?
Well, I was talking too. We were all talking. But the general conversation was, like I said, what's the oldest person you've ever dated? Would you rather be the older one or the younger one in a relationship where there's a big age difference? People talking about their experiences, and yeah, it was just chiming in lots of ideas and things. And, this one friend had just said something about, like, imagine, when you were whatever 23 and you were dating someone 19 years older than you, how old they would be now. It's like, oh my gosh. But whatever the point was that they wanted to make, they didn't get to it, because then that inspired other people to say, oh my, talking about just more people chiming in. It was 4 of us total. And yeah, and that was just,
so how do you feel about that, about someone just breaking down?
It was very confusing.
Is this a person that breaks down a lot? Do you know this person?
I've seen this person cry a few times. Yes, I think they probably break down more than the average person that I tend to hang out with, I guess. I don't know what the average number of breakdowns is per month for people, but yeah, I don't know. I felt like what was going on, it was clearly something deeper.
Right.
This feeling that nobody wants to hear what they have to say. They get ignored a lot, or people don't listen to them as much, and it wouldn't just be our group. It would have to be an experience that this person has experienced many times in their life. And that's one thing. But what what concerns me is I think it feels like it's the conversation in that person's head that inspires the breakdown. Like perceiving that people aren't stopping to listen to everything they have to say, and then interpreting that as something bigger, like they don't like me, or I'm not interesting, or I don't belong, or whatever. And actually in that conversation just a few minutes prior, we had talked about the card game, Cards Against Humanity. Have you ever played that?
Cards or Cars Against Humanity?
Cards, like playing cards.
Cards Against Humanity?
You've ever played this? No?
I've never heard of this game at all.
Oh, okay. It's a game where you basically use these cards to piece together funny sentences. And then you go around in a circle and each person says their sentence that they made. And then you score other people on how funny their comment was. And then the person that was voted.
That sounds really annoying. I can't stand any kind of games at all. I don't know, like anything that has to do with like instructions or anything like any kind of games. Like just like I hate the way people tell jokes, you know, like you have to listen to them. It takes like a while. It's like either just be funny or like don't like make me go through like this whole storyline. It's the same with like games. Like just either you're like kind of having fun with someone or like why do we have to bring a game into it? And then I have to learn rules and shit and just no. I don't know this game. Never heard of it. And you know what? I'm never going to play it.
Well, I'll take that as a challenge because I think you would love this game.
I got it, but okay.
You would love it. Anyway, but yeah, so the object of the game is to make funny sentences and make everyone else laugh. And the person who gets, voted as the funniest for that round gets the most points, and that's basically how you play. And a few minutes earlier, prior to the breakdown, this person actually got I remember now, they actually got kind of choked up because something came up where they said they weren't funny. Or we talked about that card game and they said, oh, I can't play that game. I never get any points. Nobody ever thinks I'm funny. I can't play that game. And so I was
wait, isn't it just like random like words? Or are you supposed to see? Now I'm asking about this, right? This is like actually annoying me because I didn't pull into this game, but okay, I'll ask anyway. Isn't it just like random? Are you supposed to pick the words and then you get, or is it just like they're random like out of a hat and then
you get handed like several cards and each card has different words and phrases on it, and some of them are really like fucked up, and you have to mix and match and then say the sentence to the group.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah, so I could tell
why don't you guys go on a nature walk instead?
They got a little choked up. They got a little choked up about talking about Cards Against Humanity because they clearly had never won or gotten a lot of points at it or done well, and it just reinforced what appears to be this self-image of I'm not funny. People have never actually. They said this. They said. People never thought what I thought was funny, and I can't make people laugh. I don't know. It became this kind of thing, and they got a little choked up about it. But then conversation moved on, and then the other conversation happened, and then I think that was the tipping point. So I don't know if it was alcohol, but to me, I feel like it revealed a really deep insecurity about something that I just feel like. I just don't understand why it's there if you're with friends, like these people accept.
Would it be appropriate if you then start laughing when she started crying? Because then it's like, you're kind of like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. That's why I want to.
Say you're funny. It made me laugh when you cry about whatever filter you just seem to
like.
Well, I think it's some people's filters. Like a lot of it is people's filters. The thing like they receive right in their. Something happens and they get so self-conscious, that they might interpret things a certain way, and then all of a sudden it's like then you find yourself trying to like pick up the pieces,
it's like
to try to make them feel better, but you're like, well, I mean, you didn't actually have to take it that way.
Yeah, Yeah, well,
You
it
know what I
just,
mean?
I think that was my big question. Like, whose responsibility is it when somebody breaks down in a conversation among friends? You know, is it, it can be rude and it can feel kind of invalidating when you get interrupted a lot, and can be annoying, especially if you were really into what you were going to say and nobody seems to want to hear it. And if that happens a lot, that can suck. I can understand that. But it felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. So I just wonder if there's other stuff going on, if it's just like a stressful time and that's just how it manifested itself. But it just, yeah, it just made me feel weird. Like, what do I do right now? Do I just wait for this person to gather themselves and move on, which is what I did? Or do I like rush
Mhm.
to comfort this person and reassure them that we do want to hear what you say and you are important, because that's what some of the other people did. And I don't know, I just felt at a loss. Like, I don't know how to support you right now, because I felt like I feel like hanging out is the most support you could possibly give somebody. Like, you're we all can choose who we want to hang out with. So when we are spending time together, it seems like that means a lot. I don't know. I just felt almost, I don't know, it was like a wall put between me and this person, because I felt like, if you have closeness with someone, then that doesn't ever need to come up. That never needs to happen. You know, the person could, it's like they could be like, uh, excuse me, I have something to say. Can you guys shut up, please?
Mhm.
So I don't know why it happened the way it did, but it kind of unsettled me. So here we are.
Mm. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think just asking questions, like, you know, I mean, have you always felt this way? You know, I mean, are you the only one that was interrupted today? I was interrupted today, and just maybe kind of like we talked about this before. Like, it's like take the brain to court. Are you always interrupted? Are you never funny? Is this a real, or are you just kind of like remembering those times and are very sensitive to these times? And you might notice that everyone is interrupting everyone, you know, and so it's just um you know is there anything else going on, in your life? Are you feeling a little bit sensitive? I'm sorry you feel this way, that kind of thing. Because I don't know, it's kind of tricky, because on the one hand, it's sad to see someone sad, but on the other hand, it's like, I mean, if someone's going to break down over something like this, again, maybe they're really depressed,
Right.
and that's something to think about. But at the same time, it's like, well, it seems like not that big of a deal.
Yeah. If you were me and you wanted to kind of approach that person about that situation, what would be a good way to approach it? Like, to revisit it and be like, hey, I don't even know what's appropriate for me to say in terms of how that made me feel, because part of the way I felt was a little annoyed,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's very, maybe maybe I shouldn't tell that person that I thought their breakdown was annoying. But
Well, I mean, I would just maybe use a neutral word like surprised. I was surprised by
yeah,
your reaction,
yeah,
because, I mean, and just sort of like maybe check their filters, in the sense of, sometimes we might interpret things a certain way, but, saying like, well, again, like, do you really think that you have nothing interesting at all to say? Do you really think people are just not interested in you? I mean, you did come out, right? You were
right.
invited. If you weren't interesting, do you think people would invite you to hang out? I mean, sort of question them a little bit. Where's this coming from? I'm sorry to see that you this way, but I'm concerned that the next time, you know, I may interrupt you, you might break down. And I don't know. It's like, I honestly, I also don't, I think if someone's like super sensitive, it could be hard to sort of You know, it's like there's this thing like you don't want to walk on eggshells around someone.
Right. Right. And I think that's what I want to address, because I will do that. But then that kind of messes up the closeness of the friendship, because then you're like trying to avoid certain things around this person, and you can't, when I'm with my friends, I want to be able to be 100% myself and not be judged, and know that I'm not judging them as well, and just be together and relax and enjoy each other's company.
Right. But I think that could be something to also like mention, because you also have the right to be yourself and relax and so on, right? And
Yeah.
it's like if that person is in a way, because on the one hand, yes, they're very sensitive, but on the other hand, it's almost creating this thing where, when our mind kind of overpowers us,
Right.
we can become very self-centered, so this person's mind kind of overpowered them, and they have all of these messages that they're these interpretations, these filters that are very negative. And so they're so focused on that they're actually, then they actually make it all about them. Now all of a sudden it goes from I'm having a good time with my friends to I have to comfort this person because of something that I didn't even realize would trigger them, right? And so what happens in the future, well, be careful. When this person has to say something, we have to all not say anything, because they're going to maybe start crying, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like maybe sort of checking in with them, because it's possible that there is something really serious going on,
Yeah.
and so kind of asking them questions. But on the other hand, there's the other, aspect, which is you should be able to, freely hang out without worrying about this person kind of breaking down.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're depressed, maybe they're going through something really serious. That's one thing, but if this person is hypersensitive, well, maybe they need to look into that,
Yeah.
with a therapist.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's your role.
Right.
And I'm not sure if you should really kind of change kind of like how you do things, or like, in a way for that person, right? Like in the sense of there's only so much we have to be natural,
Yeah.
And
I
if
mean, we
that
want to
person
be.
really wants to say something, they also have the responsibility to say, look, can you guys I really want to say something. Can you guys please listen,
Right.
And that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
you interrupt me all the time. Maybe I should start crying.
We would have a problem. We would have a major problem.
No, but really, I think that's maybe my answer.
Okay.
I don't know if that was an answer, but that's sort of my thoughts on that topic. Again, the brain, if we let the brain master us, we can become self-centered,
Right.
And I think what happens then is we get so caught up, in our feeling of whether it's being a victim and so on, or or that other people are being mean or whatever. We get so caught up in these filters that in fact we sort of we're less in the moment, and we get caught up in whatever our brain is telling us. So
Right.
checking our filters and asking ourselves, is this really true, or is this just
Yeah.
my interpretation?
Right.
And coming up with all the ways that this may actually not be true. The whole thing about taking the brain to court, in a sense.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks
All
for
right.
your advice, Monika.
Sure, Damian.
Bad relationship
Anytime.
advice.
Right. All right.
All
Well,
right.
good luck with that.
Thanks. We'll see you next time on Monika's bad relationship advice.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.